Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. We'll give everyone a couple more minutes to file in, so feel free to grab a snack or a drink and meet us back here in a couple of minutes. We'll give everyone just another minute to get in here, but as I said in the chat, if this is your first time joining us, welcome. We're really glad to have you. Feel free to drop in the chat or come off of mute to introduce yourself and say where you're calling in from. Cool. Well, we will get started. This is our first meeting of 2022. We've moved to a quarterly cadence instead of monthly, so now we'll be the first Thursday of every quarter. This month was a little bit different since we moved the meeting back because of the fires that happened at the beginning of the year. If you guys were affected by that, our hearts go out to you. We hope all of your families and friends are okay. A couple of other housekeeping announcements. This is the contact info for myself, Mary and Greg. We're the 3 denver-tug leaders. If you need to reach out to us with any questions about an upcoming meeting, sometimes people email me with job postings that they want me to surface across the group, or if you are also interested in joining us as a tug leader, we would love to have a larger group of us running things and getting more ideas and inspiration. So feel free to reach out if you're interested in joining us as a tug leader. We also need some planning feedback, so I will drop a link to this in the chat. This form we sent out at the very beginning or the very end of last year, but we didn't get a ton of engagement on it. So if you didn't get an email with it or you didn't see it go out and you would like to fill it out, we would love your feedback. It's a fairly short survey, but really just asks like what job you're at, what topics you would like to see, if your workspace or your workplace has a venue that we could have an in-person meeting at. Whether if you don't know that for sure or not, but if you think maybe, feel free to just indicate the maybe in that answer, and any other like planning feedback that you have for us. We really like to hear what you guys want to see, if you want to do in-person meetings, if you have a place for that, or if you would like to speak and be a guest presenter. We love that. We haven't gotten a ton of engagement from the group with people wanting to speak. I know it can be kind of scary, but this is a really nice, like low pressure way to get some public speaking experience if that's not something that you typically do. So feel free to fill out the survey, ask any questions if you have them, and we'll use this feedback to plan content for the rest of the year. This is our Denver-tug community forum page. I'll drop the link in the chat as well for this. Here we'll post, if we ever have an upcoming event, we'll post the recordings to meetings if you miss a meeting or if you just want to catch the recording later. And I'll also encourage people to post their job posting when they email me with a job posting. So anything, this is kind of like the hub for information about what's going on with the Denver-tug. Also new, we have a Slack channel. This Slack channel lives within the broader Tableau user group Slack channel. So there's a lot of channels. You just want to join the one that's called Denver-tug. It's pretty new. We don't really have anything going on in here yet, but as we get more people signing up, we'll start to post like event announcements, any Tableau information, really anything that's like going on in like the Denver Tableau space. So please join that, start communicating with each other outside of just these meetings. Oh, sorry. Our tentative dates for the rest of the year, these are going to be the first Thursdays of each quarter. We don't have the event pages up yet, but feel free to just pencil those in your calendar so that you can join us for the rest of our events for the rest of the year. And one thing I forgot to include a slide on, but Iron Viz is occurring right now. The feeder round is going on. I believe the deadline is in February. I forget the specific deadline, but if you haven't done Iron Viz before, it's a really cool way to flex your Tableau skills, get some like research in on a topic that you care about. I did it 2 years ago and it was like the coolest Tableau experience I've really like ever done. And it is really great for your portfolio, especially if Tableau isn't your job, but you want it to be. It really shows storytelling skills, data viz skills. It's just a really cool thing to do. So we would encourage everyone in the tug to at least take a stab at it. Even if you don't think you will make it all the way to the Iron Viz finalist, it's still a really, really good learning opportunity. And with that, I will welcome Zach and Michelle. I'm not going to read everything on here, but you can see they are both Tableau superstars. Zach is a 3-time Viz of the Day recipient, and Michelle is a 1-time Viz of the Day recipient. Both Tableau ambassadors and both really, really amazing at Tableau. So with that, I will stop sharing my screen and hand it over to Zach and Michelle.
Awesome. Thanks so much. All right, appreciate everybody having us here. We're really excited to do this presentation. This is actually the first time that Michelle and I have done this presentation, so bear with us if you have a little awkward moments or space that we're not talking or just thinking about stuff. I think it's okay, first time. So we'll go ahead and get started. Can you see my slide okay, Caitlin? Is everything look okay?
Yep, it looks good.
Awesome, thanks so much. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So what we're going to do is talk about an initiative that Michelle and I started last year called Viz Office Hours. This is basically something that we found helps people to get feedback about their visualization. So it's been great. We're going to talk about a journey from the start. Why did we start it? Actually show some examples of before and after and go through that. Highlight some community members that we've met along the way, some other ways that you can get feedback. And we should have plenty of time for questions and answers at the end if you guys have any. So I'll just do a quick introduction of myself and then pass it to Michelle. So as mentioned, my name is Zach Geis. I'm a Tableau ambassador as part of the Data Dev program. Obviously, co-leader of Viz Office Hours. I'm also a co-leader of the Columbus Tug, desktop and server certified, and you can find me all the time on Twitter. Spend way too much time on Twitter at Zach's Biz. Michelle?
Michelle Frayman, I'm a Tableau public ambassador, and in addition to Viz Office Hours and the feedback loop, I also am a member of the Moms That Viz with 2 teenage sons. Still can't believe I have teenage boys. I spend too much time on Twitter as well, and I joined the Tableau community pretty much for Makeover Monday after TC18, and I stayed for the Data Fam. I've met so many amazing, generous people, and I just love participating in the community, and hope people will be inspired by this and join us at our Viz Office Hours.
Yeah, Michelle, for those that maybe don't know, what is the Moms That Biz initiative?
So that was an initiative that was kicked off by Lindsay Betzendahl, and it started with a brain date actually at Data 19. There was a group of 5 or 6 of us that met, and we decided we wanted to keep the conversation going, and we created a Slack channel and started to invite more people in. And basically, as we discover other moms out there who are doing data visualization, we invite them in. It's not an exclusive group, but it's just a way to provide a little extra feedback and support, and a safe space to talk about things that moms tend to have to handle more than, well, I don't know, more than anybody else, but just issues we face.
Gotcha. So definitely, Michelle's involved in a lot, so reach out to her. I'm sure she'll be happy to chat with you on those things. So I'll start and talk about, why what is Data Viz office hours. So essentially what it is once every week, Michelle and I offer a 1-hour free slot every Wednesday. We alternate, so we're in Eastern time, so we do 8 a.m. Eastern on every other week, and then the other weeks, every other week is 4 p.m. Eastern. So this past week, just yesterday, we did one for 4 p.m. We had somebody join, talk about Iron Viz, which we just mentioned. So we don't really have any requirements. That was the goal, is to make it as seamless as possible. Open it up for anybody at any tool, at any stage. There's no strings attached. Specifically, we're not requiring you to fill out a bunch of forms or come back to us or show us what you've done. Like, it's very open, and that's the goal of this initiative. And we started it because we felt there was a gap in this. There are other mechanisms for getting feedback, which we'll talk about later in the session. But a lot of them just felt, sometimes intrusive, sometimes demanding, sometimes not at the time that you needed. And that's also why we created it for every other week or every week. We wanted to make it very easy for everybody to jump on, just get some feedback. We've had various people, various community leaders join and offer up feedback. Sometimes we have, just 1 or 2 people. Sometimes we get 5 or 6, depends on the week. But it's always a pretty good experience, and we've heard a lot of good things. So we definitely encourage you, and we'll have these links later in the presentation about joining it. It's just going to a link, signing up, and you can come and talk to us about your visualization experiences. Talk to us and try and get some feedback about it. It's very simple. The slide kind of demonstrates how simple it is. You have your viz, you sign up. That's the first thing. If you take something from this presentation, is take that link. So bit.ly/viz office. You attend one of the sessions, again, every week, Wednesdays, and then iterate and share if you want to. It's very low impact, very not demanding, very easy to jump in there. So Michelle, why don't you tell us about why feedback is important?
All right. So no matter where you are, what your level is, there's always opportunity to learn and grow, get input from others. And you don't have to be experienced to provide feedback. For example, a new user can provide valuable insights into the clarity of a viz. When you've been working on something, sometimes it's really hard to look at it with fresh eyes. I know the way my brain works, not the way others think. So feedback helps me make sure that what I present is clear to others. And sometimes just talking through what you're trying to do with someone else can provide you aha moments, regardless of their input. You may solve your own problem. I have, but often Zach solves my problems. And often tips provided to other participants are useful, to everyone who's joining the call. And even if it's not useful today, it may be useful for future business. And one thing that's super important is it's okay to disagree. Sometimes you're making a deliberate design choice where you don't agree with a recommendation. That's okay. That said, there are some recommendations that are really more based on best practices or accessibility. And those you really want to think a little bit more if you're going to buck that. Office hours allows you to provide context and have a dialogue about the choices and the feedback. And, all participants are welcome to join. This is meant to be, as I said, a dialogue and to help us understand what the participants intended to better understand the viz and scope the feedback. But we love it when everybody on the call sort of joins in the discussion. It's not intended to be sort of this dictation down on high from Zach or myself. It's really, I don't know, I guess sort of a team event. And sometimes people will join in and sometimes they just sit back and like to hear what everybody else is doing. But I've really enjoyed all of our sessions, no matter whether it's just been one person joining or a whole group. So back to you, Zach.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the one thing I would definitely emphasize, all these points are important, but one that comes to mind is the different perspective, because I know this happens to me all the time. Is I'll be heads down on a project and I'll spend so much time on it that it just becomes blurred. Like I don't even want to look at it anymore. I hate it. And getting that second opinion, getting that extra thought kind of gives you that motivation to start doing things a little bit differently, to change where your direction is taking you. And I think that's definitely important. So let's talk about some examples. So I like this example. This is one that was brought to us, I want to say somewhere around the middle of the year last year, maybe a little bit later. And it was actually for a data visualization competition. Nicole and Awana joined the session and kind of talk through this dashboard with us. And this is a good example because it exemplifies what I was saying earlier, what we were saying earlier about it's any stage. It's okay if you come to us and you're like, I know maybe what my text is going to be. I know the topics, but I just don't know where to go next. Some of the feedback that we gave was, some of the colors just felt weird. The image in the center, we didn't really like that. It didn't flow well. They talked us through where they were going with things, and it felt like it should be kind of structured in categories and like just broken out a little bit differently. And when we talked to them and went through that, everything really gelled. We had a really good conversation, and they turned around and they turned it into, whoops, scrolled a couple pages too fast. They turned it into this. And this is phenomenal. This is, they did a really good job of changing the colors. They took our feedback and broke it into sections. We talked through some of the visualizations that they used. This was really well received, across the community. It's really just nice work overall. They took the colors and they broke it out. They changed that header and it just flows very well. Exactly what you're talking about. It's very easy to see, obviously those words in the middle. What is it? Why do I care? How is it happening? Where is it affecting? Who is it affecting? And what's next? Like exactly what you're going through in this narrative. It feels very much like a story. So yeah, definitely this is a pretty good example. And one thing, I'm going to pass it to Michelle. If you guys have questions, comments, thoughts, anything, you've got the chat box. Feel free to jump in. We've got the time to break and answer questions if you have them.
So the visits that are brought to us really run the gamut from, Nicole and Nuana's started off, they really were just sketching out their ideas and it was still pretty raw, although, they had a lot of meat to it, and it went through several evolutions. They actually came back a couple of times, which was fantastic. There's no limit to the number of times we'll look at and review vises. Will's was a much more polished viz when he initially brought it to us. So the recommendations that we gave really were a little bit more subtle, but for, and is this the second sheet, Zach? Or I thought this was the second.
Yeah, anyway, they might be a little out of order. So yeah.
That's okay, no worries. I'll speak to this first. So for this slide, for this page of his dashboard, because he was paging through it, and it'll make a little more sense when you see the opening page. We recommended that they really highlight the what happened in the top header. So instead of having what happened on the left-hand side, putting in the top, like you died and what happened to your team. And that allowed him to move over the casualties of the match and make that symmetrical with the bottom. So it's just a lot easier on the eyes. So that was one of the subtle changes. It also allowed the words not to wrap under the casualties, under the bands. And then lastly, he made small changes to the icons or the color schemes in the bottom, having the little hash marks in them. So they're not huge changes, but they just make it much more readable and more pleasing to the eye. I'm a big fan of symmetry. If you want to go to the next one. So this was the opening. And initially, so this was on the sort of modeled after the Queen's Gambit. And I had actually just watched it when he brought it. So that was really fun. And before, he had a really fun idea, but it didn't explain what people were doing with it. It didn't really get into the gamification. And the color was a little bit off and inconsistent with the rest of the visualization. So one of the recommendations we made was to make it more consistent and keep with the same coloring, and then to bring in that gamification idea. So you can see that the after shows that, you know, it's still not explaining exactly what, but it's sort of telling you that you're going to do certain things as you walk through, and that's going to get you your results. So it's a little more understandable what is happening. And then he also added the question mark and the help to give more insights into what was happening.
Yeah, and you know, we got one final example here. This one went through you know, a few different iterations. So this one's about Cam Newton. The person came to us and actually said that this was inspired by a book that they had read as a child. And so kind of where we took them was, you know, to really, you know, lean into that. There were a couple things that they could change, you know, on the top side a little bit, and on the right side. You know, we've got we recommended to put actually a legend on there. There wasn't a lot that was changed. Like, I really liked this dashboard from the beginning, like the design and the flowers. The only thing that was a little rough about this generally was you don't know exactly what you're looking at. And so, you know, looking at the second version, not giant changes here. You know, there's a little bit more emphasis on the book nature with the tooltip here. You know, some explainer annotations, a little bit more text, and you know, an actual diagram over here on the right side that acts as a legend and actually explains through, like, you know, what's happening with the flowers. What do those actually mean? It's really cool stuff that you should definitely check out there. So three examples, you know, so some took a little bit more interaction and guidance than others. Some were pretty simple, but it shows a decent range of the different things that we kind of provide feedback on. There's a lot of others. These were the three that came back where we were able to check with them, and they actually had the old version before we got through feedback. There's many others. There's many, you know, there's a lot of people who've worked with that have become biz of the days. A lot of other really good dashboards that we would probably highlight as well. But we don't have the before version. We didn't really think about that when we were going through the initiative to make sure that we grabbed them. But, you know, definitely appreciate the 4 people in these 3 vizzes. You know, really great stuff. And I'd encourage you to take some time, find the 3 of those. I really like all 3 of those dashboards. So what we talk about a little bit, what have we gotten out of this? So we're trying to pay it forward. You know, Michelle and I have been part of the community in the data fam for several years. I think we both started somewhere around the same time. And we were helped a lot when we first started being part of the community. There were a lot of people, Zen masters, ambassadors, others like that just really helped us along our way. And you know, now that we have more experience, and now that we've worked to become more central inside of the community, we're looking for ways to pay it forward, to continue to help the next people that are working in data visualization, give them feedback, try and help them grow. And this is one of those ways that both of us find that we can offer and spare an hour of our time each week. I think that's, you know, just like it is for the people that are involved, for us, you know, it's low impact. It's not a lot of our time. We sign on for an hour, we talk to you, we give you our feedback, we give you our attention for an hour, and then, you know, we move on for the rest of our day. It helps us and it helps others to make new connections in the community. So we're always looking to meet new people. Michelle and I both like talking to people and just, you know, having a good conversation. Sometimes these chats move from not just data visualization feedback, but, you know, career advice and, you know, what's new with you, and okay, you got a new job, how's that going? Things like that. We've made some really great friends in the community all across the world, and we just like to chat with people. So don't feel, you know, shy to join us and talk about these things. We also are always learning as well. Every session, there's something that I get from it. There's, you know, maybe it's something technical, maybe it's something in how they design things. But every session, I feel like I learn something, and I learn a lot from Michelle as well, being my co-host. And we also have fun. I think we both enjoy doing it. It's not something that we really like, it's one of the things you dread or anything like that. We really enjoy just sitting and talking to people, meeting new folks, helping them with their stuff. And I think it's a really good, enjoyable experience for both of us. Michelle?
Yeah, no, I absolutely love doing it. Zach is a fantastic partner, and I love that we've gotten a number of people who've returned multiple times. So that makes me feel really good, like that we're providing some valuable feedback. So obviously, the first thing we're going to have to plug is our Viz office hours. And as Zach mentioned earlier, they're every week, but we're alternating times. So next week, it's going to be 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and the following week, it'll be 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Another opportunity is the feedback loop. That was originally started by Joshua Smith a few years back. And what that is small group feedback that runs over the course of about 2 to 3 months. I'm kicking that off this winter with Nicole Klassen, and we actually have our first loop group set. We're going to be running that through the months of February and March, but we will be looking to do that again in the springtime. And with that, there's a group of about 8 to 10 people, and everybody submits a Viz, and people have a month to either pick an old Viz or build a new one, a few weeks to submit that and to get feedback from everybody, and everybody in the loop provides feedback to every other Viz, and then and gets feedback from everybody in the group. And then they have another couple of weeks to iterate on that. So it's a really nice way to get to meet again other people and to get some focused attention and take a little bit more time to give some feedback to people. It's been worked really well in the past, and there have been some great people who have gone through it. So I'm excited to kick that off again. There are a number of community projects that provide feedback. Sarah Loves Data, Sarah Bartlett gives it through Iron Quest. She does a fantastic job every month with her co-hosts and a number of other projects. We are also going to be doing Iron Viz feedback sessions starting next Wednesday. Sarah should be sending out tweets on that coming up pretty soon. And there are a whole bunch of people who are volunteering their times from January 26th through, I believe, Iron Viz submission time. So there should be a lot more options to get feedback depending on your schedule. We picked 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. because that's what worked with ours. In addition to that, you can always reach out to community members on Twitter or LinkedIn. People are incredibly generous, and I have yet to meet anybody who wasn't willing to help. And if they didn't know the answer, then they'll know who to contact and they'll reach out to them. You can also go back and look at old Makeover Monday webinars. A lot of the advice that they give to people is valuable regardless of what your Viz is about. Or you can go back and redo an old Makeover Monday and then watch all the feedback on that specific one. So there are just a lot of different ways that you can reach out to the community and get feedback, but we certainly hope that you will join us.
All right, so just kind of recapping the things that we've talked through. We'd love for you, regardless of how long you've been using Tableau or even other tools, regardless of how far you are into a project, or you haven't met a lot of people in the community, we'd love to see you in one of our sessions. It doesn't really matter where you are in the process. Just go ahead and sign up. The link is there again, and I think it was put into the chat. I think Caitlin put it in there as well. Sessions are every Wednesday. So if we look ahead to this coming Wednesday, it would be 8 a.m. Eastern, which I think would be too early for this group. But the following group would following week would be 4 p.m. Eastern. So that should work for you guys. You don't really, so question, how far in advance do you need to sign up? We don't really put a cap on that. So we're really okay with, like, we really have, we usually make, we always make time for people to, go through. Whether it's one person, we'll give them the whole hour if they want it. If there's 5 people, we'll give them, 10 to 12 minutes. So we'll always find time for everybody to go through and give their feedback. And sometimes, honestly, some people just join just to listen in. They want to hear feedback about others. And one thing, like Michelle mentioned, I would emphasize is almost everybody that comes again. People really do enjoy it. Everybody, we have so many repeat members of these sessions. It's really humbling and inspiring to see people come back so often. There were the other feedback opportunities that Michelle mentioned, and I'm going to flip to the next slide, which is going to have our information again. But Michelle and I always are happy to chat. If you have any questions for us, or you want to talk before you even join one of these sessions, we're completely open and willing to chat with you guys. So I think I'd like to leave it for questions. I hope you guys have some.
I have a question. Have either of you started working on your Iron Viz submission yet? If you're doing it?
I can start. So yeah, Michelle and I have talked about this a couple of times. So the last 3 years, I think I said I was going to compete, and I didn't. I think 4 years ago I did. This year is kind of in the same state where I have an idea. I've looked at some data. I've kind of picked some colors, but that's about as far as I've gotten so far. It's been a pretty busy couple of weeks. Michelle, what about you?
So I swore up and down last time that I wasn't going to do it. And then all of a sudden at the end, I got inspired. So I'm still hopeful. I have an idea. I have some data. And I think I know what I want to do with it. I just don't know if I have the time and the bandwidth to do it. Things have been a little crazy, both at work, and it's ski season here in Boston. So my free time on the weekends is limited. So we'll see. I'm hopeful. Anybody else got any? Are you going to be doing it?
I'm in a similar boat as you both. I told myself I would, and I'm going on vacation next week for like a week, and I don't think I'm gonna have time, but I have the data set for a project that I was going to do like 2 years ago and never did. So like the data itself is fine. It's just a matter of building, and I just keep procrastinating. So you guys make me feel better.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could totally do it up to the last minute. I see there's a question from Mark. So we have had people share their work. The way the Zoom works is we allow people to share their screens. So it really depends on your company policy, whether the information that you have there can be shared to outside people. And I'm gonna have to defer to your work policies on that. I know I can't share anything I do. I can't even share what I do.
Depending on if you're allowed, bake the data. Sometimes people do that for like Tableau sites and stuff. So, sometimes it's a pain, but if it's worth it and you're able to, get by with that, then that's always an option. And thanks for watching my presentation yesterday as well, Mark. Any other questions? Okay, well, Michelle and I really grateful again for the opportunity to come here and speak with you guys. You have our contact information, you have our Twitter handle, so anytime if you want to reach out to us. Otherwise, really hope to see you in one of our upcoming Viz Office Hour sessions. It would be great. And thanks, Caitlin and team, for inviting us.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. You're welcome to hang out if you'd like, but otherwise, we typically just save the end of the meeting for networking. If anyone wants to like come off video, introduce yourself, ask any general Tableau questions, the floor is kind of open to whoever would like to speak.
So how long have you been leading or co-leading the denver-tug?
Me and Mary started last January, and then Greg joined us like a month or two after. because it had been around for a while, but the former leader of it, she stopped, and then it was just dormant for like a year. And then I reached out to Tableau, like, hey, like, when is this group meeting? And they told me there was no leader, and they were like, do you want to be the leader? I was like, I guess so. So I was kind of voluntold into it, but it's been great.
That's good.
Well, we can wrap up early if no one has any questions or just if they'd like to introduce themselves. I'll give it another minute, but otherwise we can drop.
Is anyone here tonight or today from that was also at the holiday gathering that we had back in December? The in-person, our sole in-person event so far.
I think Lawrence was. I recognize your picture, Lawrence.
Yes, yes, yes. I was there, definitely.
Yes.
Hello.
And Elizabeth was as well. Well, hopefully we'll have some more in-person events later this year. I'm very glad we didn't try to do something in person in January, but hopefully later in the year. And when you fill out your planning survey, if you think your workplace is open to hosting events, indicate that, or even if you know a place that doesn't charge very much, like we have a slightly higher budget for in-person events, it's not crazy high, but we can typically pay for like a round of drinks, and then if there's any kind of minimum, so just indicate that in your survey if you know of anywhere. Well, cool. I think we can wrap up. Thank you guys all so much for joining us today, and we will be meeting again in April.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice day, everyone.
Thanks for everybody.